Vakratunda Mahakaya Surya Koti Shamaprabha Nirvigham Gurume Devo Sharvakayeshu Sarvadha Saraswate Namostubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambam Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Mishada Shuklam Baradaram Vishnum Sashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasanna Varanam Dhyaye Sarva Vighnopashantaye. Let us salute Lord Hanuman, who is present wherever Ramayana is being read or wherever Lord Ram's name is being chanted. Yatra yatra raghunama kirtanam tatra tatra krisamasta kanchalim bashpavari paripurna lochanam maruthim namatha raksha shantakam. Pujantam Rama Rameti Maduram Maduraksharam Aruhya Kavita Shakam Vande Valmiki Kokilam. Pranams and Jai Sri Ram to all the participants of this online Valmiki Ramayanam. Last session was a completion of Balakandam. Balakandam, it took us 5 sessions to cover Balakandam. And remember, Balakandam of Srimad Valmiki Ramayana consists of 77 sargas or 77 chapters. So what we have learned in Balakandam, we learned about the history of Valmiki Ramayana, how Valmiki Ramayana started with the inquiry of Valmiki to sage Narada, the inquiry of who is that person in this world at this present moment who possess all these qualities, 16 qualities being mentioned in chapter 1 of Valmiki Ramayana, chapter 1 of Balakanda of Valmiki Ramayana from sloka number 2 to sloka number 4. And then in chapter 1 of Balakandam, what we find is that Narada Muni will present the Valmiki Ramayana, the Ramayana in a nutshell. So there are 100 slokas there, and then from there, what we learn, Valmiki started to compose after divine, what we call blessings from Lord Brahma. He will later narrate to Lava and Kusa, and Lava and Kusa will be narrating the Ramayana to Rama himself. So Lava and Kusa will start with the kingdom of Kosala, and then the yagyas done by Dasaratha, including Putra Kamishti Yagya, through what we call Risha Singha, and then Rama, Bharata, Lakshmana, and Satruguna will be born. And then at the same time, what happened? The Vanaras will also take birth. Okay, the Devas will also take birth in form of Vanaras. Okay, then Vishwamitra will come, will take Rama and Lakshmana. Rama will kill Kadaka, will kill Subahu, will send Marisha to hundreds of yojanas, and then he will protect the yagya of Vishwamitra. Then Vishwamitra will take Rama and Lakshmana to Mithila. So along the way, various stories will be narrated. Stories about how Ganga came to the earth, okay, and then stories of Vishwamitra will also be narrated by Sadananda in Mithilapuri. And then a very important part of Balakanda is that Sita and Rama will be united. Lakshmi Narayana. Sita and Rama will be united. Wedding of Sita and Rama will take place, and then Rama will annihilate the Parasurama, and then they will be back to Ayodhya. That was what we have covered throughout Balakandam of Srimad Valmiki Ramayana. So in this session, which is session 6, we are going to start book 2 of Valmiki Ramayana. That is Ayutthaya Kanda. Ayutthaya Kanda or Ayutthaya Kanda in a nutshell. Ayutthaya Kanda consists of 119 chapters. It is the third longest book in Valmiki Ramayana. Of course, we have Uttarakanda is the longest. Apart from Uttarakanda, we have Yuddhakanda. Yuddhakanda will have about 128 chapters. Okay. Then we have here is the Ayutthaya Kanda. And Ayutthaya Kanda, in terms of our coverage, will also take about not 5, it will be taking more, 6 or 7 sessions for us to complete Ayutthaya Kanda. So Ayutthaya Kanda is a Kanda which is full of drama, emotions that are happening, that happened during that time. Most of the events took place in Ayutthaya, and then from Ayutthaya, Rama will move to the forest. So the location where most of the event took place was Ayutthaya. So this Kanda was known as Ayutthaya Kanda. Okay. And Balakandam, because it narrates the childhood of Rama until his marriage, it is called Balakandam. And then another Kandam, after Ayutthaya Kandam, you will have Aranya Kandam, which is a life in the forest. Aranya means forest. So, forest, life in a forest, that is a book of forest, Aranya Kandam. Similar to book of forest in Valmiki Ramayana, that is called Aranya Kandam. In Mahabharata, you also have a book that is called Vanaparva, which is a life of the forest, for life in the forest. And then after Aranyakanda, we have also another location that is Kishkinda. Okay, a lot of happenings took place in Kishkinda. Rama meets what they call Hanuman. Rama will meet Sugriva. Okay, so Rama will kill Wali. All those happening in Kishkinda Kandam. And then book 5 is a very unique book. The only book where it is called beautiful book, that is called Sundara Kandam. Okay, and then book what they call 6 is also known as Yuddha Kandam, book of war, but it's also called Lanka Kandam, Lanka Kanda or even Yuddha Kanda. Okay, all right. Now we are in the Ayutthaya Kanda. What are the chapters that we are going to cover in our session today? So in this session, we are going to look into chapters from chapter 1 to chapter 20 of the Ayutthaya Kanda of Srimad Valmiki Ramayana. So what are some of the title area of those coverage of what we are going to do for this session? Chapter 1 will be all about qualities of Rama again. Again, the qualities of Rama. There will be around more than 30, close to about 30, what they call slokas. 20 to 30 slokas will be narrating about qualification of Rama, the qualities of Rama that will be narrated here. Then Dasaratha desire to renounce his kingdom, to quit from being a king of Ayutthaya, and then he wanted to install Rama, to appoint Rama as a heir apparent. Then the preparation, all the things that will be happening. The entire Ayutthaya will be happy. Then Mantara will come to know about what is things that are happening. And then Mantara will quickly go and poison the mind of Kaikeyi. And then Kaikeyi will be demanding for the boons, 2 boons that previously was granted by Dasaratha to her. And then king will, will faint. He will be in a complete stress. So king will have no choice but to stick to his word. So what will happen? Rama will be sent to the forest. Bharata will be appointed as the heir apparent. So what will happen is that in this particular chapter 19 and 20, we will find before Rama decides to leave for forest, he will be meeting his mother. And then later on in chapter 21, 22, 23, all it will be about meeting Sita, Lakshmana and all. So we are going to cover up to chapter 20 in our session, in this session. Okay, first we are going to look into chapter 1. Chapter 1, as I have said to you earlier, it's about something like the resume of Rama. Okay, there are 4 parts. As I said, 30 slokas in chapter 2 will be given to as a description of excellent qualities of Lord Rama. So if you are familiar with Balakandam, chapter 1, 16 qualities being mentioned by Valmiki to identify who is that particular person, who is that man who possesses these 16 qualities. Narada will be describing also about qualities and more qualities of Sri Rama. So here in Ayutthaya Kanda, there will be additional qualities that will be mentioned about Rama, which also falls within the 16. Okay, that will be expansion, which will be something like an extension or expansion of the 16 qualities mentioned earlier, plus additional qualities of Lord Rama will be mentioned in 30 slokas in chapter 1. So those of you who read the original Valmiki Ramayana, the text from Gita Press, or even from the PDF copy that I have sent to you in the WhatsApp group, okay, you will be able to find more qualities of Rama being mentioned there. And then the second part of chapter 1 will be consideration or promotion of Rama to be the future king. And then the third part describes the decision to give promotion after discussion with the people, especially the ministers and also the preceptors. And the final and the fourth part is a preparation for the what we call the coronation of Rama. So if you look into chapter 1, okay, it starts with Kausalya, the mother of Rama, was filled with delight to behold Rama of unexcelled excellence grow into a young prince. So you have to remember that when Rama got married, his age was 12 plus. Okay, now he is at the age of 24. 24, at the age of 24, Dasaratha was thinking of coronation of Rama. So 12 years have passed since the wedding of Rama and Sita, and where we left in the Balakanda, where we have concluded the Balakanda. 12 years have passed. After the 12 years, then we find Rama's coronation was planned by Dasaratha. So here Kausalya was joyful, seeing growth of Rama into a young prince. Here Valmiki mentioned, just like Aditi rejoiced to see Indra. Aditi is a mother of Indra. Okay, Aditi is a wife of Kasyapa Muni. Aditi, and then you also have Diti and Aditi. From Aditi, all the Devas came. From Diti, all the Asuras came. Okay, it was mentioned that Rama was a perfect young man. He had all the noble qualities. He was fully self-controlled. Remember, one of the quality that everyone needs to aspire is to self-control, to control your own self, to be able. That is one of the sloka mentioned in Balakanda also. Atmavanko jita krodo dutimanko anusuyaka. Atmavanko, one who is able to control himself. Here it is mentioned he was patient with others' wrong, but would not do wrong himself. Be patient. Patience is a virtue. Even today is very important. It's one of the important virtues that needs to be inculcated. Being patient. Okay. He sought the company of elders and wise men. He had a highly cultivated mind. His behavior was highly cultured too. Cultured in behavior, in action. His action were governed by highest code of dharma, righteousness. He was not interested in unworthy conduct, and when he knows when to restrain himself. Okay, even his body was perfect, healthy, strong, and handsome. So it is very important for us to keep our body strong and healthy. Do exercise, eat healthy food, keep ourselves healthy. He was alert in his mind and was able to read the mind and intention of everyone that comes to us. Not many people will be able to have this what we call trait to be able to read the mind. But to some extent, based on individuals' facial reaction, body language, we will be able to predict what would be the intention. Okay, that is why one of the things that you have to acquire is that to be alert, your mind must be alert. You have to make your mind as your friend. You remember the Bhagavad Gita, one of the sloka in chapter 6, verse 5, Krishna says, for one who is able to control the mind, who is able to manage the mind will be the greatest friend. Otherwise, the mind can be the greatest enemy. So you have to remember, managing the mind is one of the essential things. Okay? He was highly learned in scriptures and therefore well versed in the injunction and prohibition concerning the three pursuits of life, purpose of life, that is dharma, artha, kama. Okay, even moksha. So it is here, it is mentioned, if your dharma, artha and kama, everything perfect, moksha would not be a problem, according to many scholars of Ramayana. Why moksha not mentioned here? Okay, he did not display his pleasure or displeasure in relation to others. Hence, he earns friendship of everybody. So remember here, emotionally, he was intelligent. Emotional intelligence is one of the traits that we have to develop. Emotional intelligence, if you do some search, is about awareness of yourself, management of yourself, awareness of other people around you, and also managing people or relationship management very well. Okay? So, he had earned friendship of everybody. Okay, later on we will find friendship of Guha, friendship of monkey Sugriva, even Rakshasa. So he is a friend of all the living beings, that is said here. Okay, he was indeed the repository of all the good qualities. He was, as it were, very life of the people moving outside the body. So all these are in this chapter. If you're looking into, is a narration of qualities of Rama. In fact, chapter 1, the other parts of chapter 1, it's a Dasaratha was delighted with all this. In fact, he was proud of his son and fond of his son. He was highly attached to Rama. But at that time, it was said that Dasaratha was looking at his face in the mirror, and then he was seeing gray hair. And then at that time, he made a decision, it's about time for him to retire. And at that time, he also noticed Nimitta Shastra, which was not really good. I mentioned to you about what is Nimitta Shastra, what is Sakuna Shastra. In a previous session, we learned something about what is Nimitta Shastra, Sakuna Shastra. We will also have Sapuna Shastra. Sapna Shastra, later on, we will learn from the dream of Bharata about the dreams, interpretation of the dream. For Dasaratha, as he was growing old, he thought his end was coming to near. So he wanted to ensure Rama ascends the throne while he was alive. So what Dasaratha was thinking at that time was that Rama was qualified enough to rule Ayodhya, not only Ayodhya, the entire world, or even 3 worlds. So he did not lose much time before telling his ministers and preceptors about his wish. Although he has a decision, he wanted to enthrone Rama, but as a leader, it is very important to get the feedback of other peoples as well, especially his preceptors and also ministers. So, although Rama was popular among the people, yet Dasaratha still wanted to get the feedback from other people. Okay, so the ministers said there was really no problem, no any impediments in the way of Rama ascending the throne. The king invited them to the court, the leaders of the community, okay, of all the towns, cities in his kingdom, their view, to get their view. He also invited king and rulers of the neighboring kingdoms to ensure that their approval too. Okay, so Rama would be assured of loyalty of his subjects and friendliness of all the neighbors. Now, by an oversight, Dasaratha omitted to invite his own father-in-law, king of Kekaya, that is King Ashwati, and King Janaka, his own, what they call, that is Rama's father-in-law. So why later on we will come to that. There will be one particular incident that Rama will be telling Bharata, which will not be found here in this session, where Rama will be telling not Bharata, Lakshmana, that our father, that is Dasaratha, when he got married with Kaikeyi, he promised King Kekaya, king of Kekaya, that is King Ashwapati, that Kaikeyi's son will be the next king. He actually made a promise. That is why we see that Dasaratha in Ramayana, according to Honorable Srinivasa Shastri, in his book on lectures in Srimad Valmiki Ramayana, he said that Dasaratha is a king, is a person who will make a promise without thinking the consequences of his promise. So that is important for us. One lesson that we can learn from Dasaratha, not to promise like Dasaratha. Before you promise, you have to make sure you have the ability and capability to fulfill that promise. Okay. So let's move on. So we find that in chapter 2, Dasaratha will address the assembly. He will tell them that I have lived very long. Actually, if you look at Valmiki Ramayana said Dasaratha ruled for 60,000 years. So it is up to you whether you want to take it as it is, because there are people who take it as it is, saying that in Treta Yuga, people used to live very long. People used to live about hundreds of thousands of years due to their tapasya. And Dwapara Yuga, people used to live about thousands of years. And Kali Yuga, the most people live, average is about 100 years. But whether it is exaggeration of the poet or whether it is to be taken as it is up to the individual. Because there are people who take as it is, and then there are people who even take Ramayana took place in Treta Yuga, and Treta Yuga was coming close to 1 million years. End of Treta Yuga is about 1 million years. But there are some studies of Ramayana, they look into timing of Ramayana coming to 5114 BC. It is up to us, up to the individuals to look into, based on their evaluation, to take it, whether you want to take Treta Yuga about thousands of years ago, not thousands, sorry, millions years ago, or you're going to look into Ramayana took place in Treta Yuga, mentioned about 5114. There are people who have difference in opinion about this, even among scholars of Valmiki Ramayana. In fact, later on, when we look into Kishkinda Kanda, when Hanuman was jumping towards Sundarakanda, it was mentioned the distance between Lanka, between the India and at that time, the place where Hanuman crossed to Lanka was 100 yojanas. 100 yojanas means 1 yojana is equivalent to 800 miles. So current Lanka is not about 800 miles. So it is actually much more closer. So these are all some of the things. If people want to research, they can research. They need to research these things to establish maybe the geography of the Treta Yuga during the time of Ramayana. Okay, fine. Let us continue. Dasaratha mentioned he had lived very long and had been king for a long time. 60,000 years it has been mentioned. He said his body has aged. Okay, and I wish to appoint my son and rest in retirement. I am convinced that he will excel me and his rule will be good fortune to the earth. So is it acceptable to all of you? He is actually putting the question to the assembly. Okay, consists of these preceptors, ministers, and all. And then, in fact, all the representative of the people from the cities and then from other kings as well. The assembly applauded the king's proposal. One of the spokesmen said, "O king, indeed you have ruled us very well for a long period of time." So you see, in Ramayana, we learn not only Rama Rajya, there is also Dasaratha Rajya. Dasaratha Rajya was also said to be excellent. He ruled very well. Okay, and after Dasaratha Raja, we had Paduka Raja. Paduka means Bharata rule on central actually rules, whereby Bharata took care of the administration of Ayodhya on behalf of the centers of Rama. Paduka Raja, Dasaratha Raja, Paduka Raja. Then we had Rama Raja of Ayodhya. Other Rajas we have also will be looking at. We will be looking at Kishkinda Raja and also Lanka Raja. Okay, how Kishkinda and also Lanka as well. Okay, now King addressed them. I'm pleased with your response, but tell me, why is it that you wish Rama to be enthroned while I'm alive? So I didn't rule Ayodhya that well. Dasaratha actually questioned the what they call the assembly. Okay, the assembly assured the king that they were not displeased with him, but they adored Rama. The spokesperson spoke. Rama is Satpurusha, the ideal man devoted to Satya, truth, fountain of Dharma, righteousness, and welfare. He takes care of welfare of all the living beings. Okay, that is very important. Welfare of all the living beings. Sharva Bhuteshu Gojitaha. That is one of the qualities of Rama mentioned in sloka number 3 of chapter 1 of Balakrishnan. Charitrena Chakoyuktaha Sarvabhuteshu Kohitaha. All the living beings. Okay, welfare of all the living beings. He is richly endowed with knowledge, wisdom. Not only jnana, but also vijnana. Bhagavad Gita chapter 7, if you look into, you will learn what is the difference between jnana and vijnana. Jnana is a theoretical knowledge. Vijnana is a realized knowledge. Okay? So jnana and vijnana, valor, compassion, is compassionate. Okay? Self-control again. Every good quality that an ideal man should possess. He is totally identifies himself with the joys and sorrows of people. He knows how to sympathize, empathize. Emotionally, he is intelligent. He is the ideal ruler, ideal king. He is fit to rule the three worlds, not just this one. We know all the people pray he should be the king. And when Dasaratha heard this, he was highly pleased with his proposal, pleased with their proposal. Okay, then when you are looking into what they call Ayodhya Kanda, some notes here. Dasaratha desire to loosen his grip in worldly life. See, very important for us to everyone. Every leader must understand this. Whoever takes any leadership position here, please take note of this. A leader must know when the time to retire. A leader cannot expect himself to continue to run the kingdom until he dies. Okay, sometimes in some country, people want to be the leader until his or her last breath. So it is very, very important for us to learn this, know when to retire. Retire when the time, you know the time is coming up. It is a time other people are willing to take over. They are qualified. They have all the experience to take over. That time you should retire. It is very, very important, especially for a leader who wants to continue to lead until their last breath. So Dasaratha here says, my body has attained old age after ruling entire world, ensuring the welfare of people under the shade of oil, white umbrella. This is mentioned in sloka number 7 of chapter 2. Having lived for thousands of years, this body, as I said, Valmiki Ramayana mentioned, Dasaratha ruled for 60,000 years. Rama rule was 11,000 years. Okay, here he said, this body is now worn out due to old age and therefore I want to take a rest. I shall be relieved of my anxiety by entrusting this land ruled by me to my son Rama without any more delay, thus ensure continued welfare to the world. King have to take care of the welfare of the world, not their own welfare. Praja Shukke Shukkam Raja. Praja, people are happy, Raja is happy. Another important thing for us to note in this what they call chapter 2 is that the importance of succession planning. Succession planning is important not only for organization, any business, for the continuity of business. It is very important to prepare successor. Who is to take over when that particular person retires or if he passes away? So that is why, because many organizations, even country, getting into a problem, getting into chaos, getting into crisis because there is no succession. There is no proper succession. So that is why the succession planning process is important. So if you look into Ramayana in the Ayodhya Kanda chapter 2 verse 15 verse 16, importance of succession planning. This decision is personally favorable to me and I have decided after seeking counsel, you should give me your consent and tell me what I should do. Plan, desire, decision to get, successor. Although this is what I like to do, please suggest alternative ways of achieving the welfare of this kingdom. Deliberation by unbiased on this issue may bring good. See, what Dasaratha here is practicing, he's actually practicing participative management style. He's not an authoritarian. Sometimes some leaders are authoritarian. Authoritarian means what they decide, that is final. No consultation with other people. But here, what Dasaratha is doing is that he is actually, Dasaratha is practicing participative management. Okay. So we can also find something similar done by Lord Vishnu himself participated. Lord Vishnu himself demonstrated participative management. Participative management means getting the feedback from other people before making a decision. So you find this in Balakanda in chapter 16. Even though Vishnu knew the upaya, the means to kill Ravana, yet Vishnu requested the feedback from all the devas. Okay, that is very important for us. This approach is what we call, that makes a great leader. A great leader is a leader who always gets the feedback of the people before making any decision. Okay, not making decision on his own. Of course, there are times when there is a chaos, when there is a crisis, when there is an urgency, the leader have to make a stand decision, authoritarian decision. But most of the time, a good leader will practice participation, get the feedback of all the people before making a decision. Okay. Now, after the assembly, King Dasaratha humbly submitted to sage Vashishta, say, Holy Sir, let everything to be done quickly. Install Rama on the throne. Vashishta then instructed the minister. Minister therefore sent for Rama. See, that's something like a chain of command. The king to the preceptor, preceptor to the minister, minister to the other people. Okay. The king therefore sent for Rama. Someone need to mute your audio. Okay. Somebody need to mute your audio, please. Okay. The king therefore sent for Rama. On arrival,
Rajkaran Rai, can you please put on silent mode?
Okay.
Okay, thank you. All right. All right. The king announced his intention. You are the eldest and most beloved son, O Rama. You are the beloved of all the people. Hence, ascend the throne as the Yuvaraja. You are excellent in every way, but I shall render these friendly advice. Shun vices and adhere to righteousness. Do what is pleasing to your people, and they will be devoted to you. In the meantime, Kausalya also came to know this. She was extremely happy. She and all the citizens who heard, okay, sometimes they heard, before official announcement, they would have definitely heard from various sources. Just like in organization, you have formal communication, informal communication. Informally, they have heard from many sources. So Kausalya came to know about it. The citizens also came to know about it. They were very happy. And Dasaratha has a duty of a father, not only father here. Dasaratha duty here is not as a father, as a king, advising the next king. So Dasaratha's advice to Rama. Okay, very, very important. There is a long list here, advice. If you find in Ayutthaya Kanda, especially chapter 3, those slokas, I have just taken up some of the important slokas here. Dasaratha advice with humility, humbleness. You need to be humble. Okay, leader have to be humble. Rama, if you look at his character, his trait, his personality, he was always humble. Okay, and keep your senses under control. Senses means all the 5 senses under control. Okay, even it is mentioned Indriya Jayaha. Indriya Jaya. Indriya. Well, we have 5 Indriyas. We have to control our senses. Keep off all the violation arising from lust and anger, karma and krodha. In fact, if you look at Bhagavad Gita, Krishna himself says karma, krodha, anger, karma, lust and anger are the enemy. Very important. Enemy we learn the sat ripu. Okay, karma, krodha, lobha, mada, matsarya, all that also included. And then Dasaratha said, with your behavior, keep ministers and people satisfied by direct or indirect means. With your behavior means leader must show example. Bhagavad Gita in chapter 3 verse 21 also says, Krishna already said, what Krishna as Rama in the previous yuga, that is Trita Yuga practice, Krishna preached to Arjuna in chapter 3 verse 21 of the Bhagavad Gita. Yad acharati srestas tat tat heve taro janaha. Sayat pramanam grute lokastat anuvartate. Whatever the great person, the leader does, people in general follow. Whatever example that he sets, the entire world pursues. That is why leadership by example is critical, important, very, very important. Okay, that's why Dasaratha said, with your behavior, keep the ministers and people satisfied. And he said, you shall rule the herds, keeping the subjects loyal and contented. The friends of such person will remain pleased like devatas with nectars. Hence, conduct yourself with your mind under control. Remember, leader. Anyone who takes a leadership role, Shastras mentioned, keep the mind under control. Mind, as I said, from the Bhagavad Gita, for one who keeps the mind under control, who manages the mind is the best of friends. Otherwise, it can be the enemy. Okay, continue further. Okay, on second thought, Dasaratha, after giving the advice, Rama wanted to see Rama again. Rama wanted seeing Sumantra. Sumantra is a minister, very important minister in the Ayutthaya, Sumantara. Okay, king wants to see you again immediately. So Rama again went. The king spoke to Rama, I have lived again. You know, at the time, a lot of things came to the mind of Dasaratha because he was also seeing the evil nimitta, omens. You have to remember, king also has a curse of the parents of Shravana Kumara, which will come later on. Okay, king, when he will be wailing at the time when Rama already left the forest, during his youth, he used to go for hunting and he used to shoot the animals by their sound. Mistakenly, he shot Shravana Kumar, and before he died, he told Dasaratha to give water to his parents, and then later parents came to know that that their son was killed. They will curse Dasaratha that just like how we are dying because of loss of our son, you will also die and due to your son. Okay, Putra Shoka. That was a curse given to Dasaratha. So he was also thinking of that. He was also looking into all the omens which are not so good. So he wanted to see Rama again. So again he told Rama, I have lived very long. I have enjoyed all the royal pleasures. I have given a lot in charities. I have performed many religious rites. And after much prayer, you are born to me. After many yagyas that he has done, including the Ashwamedha Yagya, Putra Kameshti Yagya, Rama, Bharata, Lakshmana, and Satrughna was born to him. I have rendered all debts a man owes to sages, devas, and pitrus, rinas. Okay, I'll go through what it is in the next note. I'm going to tell you what do we mean by these rinas. The only thing remain for me to see is you on the throne of Ayodhya. And I see many evil omens, many terrible dreams which portend calamity. Astrologers also say that according to my stars, a calamity is imminent. Hence, I wish to enthrone you immediately, tomorrow. I must therefore do it before the fickle mind changes. For mind of human being is fickle. That's why very important to make a decision when we are sound and clear. Sometimes we can make a bad decision due to the mind. Sometimes when due to the destiny, to some extent a destiny, mind can corrupt an individual. You remember there is a famous saying that Vinashakale Vipareda Buddhi. Vinashakale, when the time of destruction comes, the Buddhi will be bewildered. Just like what happened to Ravana. He cannot listen to any counsel from anybody. Even Marisha dissuaded him from doing the act of abducting Sita, but he never. That's why sometimes Vinashakale Vipareda Buddhi. The mind can be, during the time of destruction, the mind will be bewildered. So very important for us to keep the mind in control with our thoughts. Okay. Now here he says, I call you again to tell you this. Tomorrow is your enthronement. Therefore, fast tonight along with Sita. Observe strict discipline. I think it is better that you are enthroned when Bharata is away. Okay, there is a reason, as I said to you later on. Okay, we will learn. Because of his promise to King Ashwapati earlier. Right? That will not be mentioned here, but Rama will be mentioning to Lakshmana later on. Okay? He is indeed a noble boy, but no one can tell what the mind is capable of doing. So now, Dasaratha mentioned that he had actually paid all the debts to the three debts. So if you do some search in Taittiriya Samhita, it says that a child is born with 3 debts to pay in his or her lifetime. What are the debts? One is called Devarina. Devarina means a debt that needs to be repaid for performing various religious acts and worship to the devas through various mantras. You do various yajnas, various pujas that you do, that is a Devarina. Second is Rishi Rina. Rishi gives us a lot of scriptures, the Vedas, the Idihas, the Upanishad, the Idihasas, the Puranas. By studying, acquiring this knowledge, and also teaching or narrating to other people by constantly remembering these scriptural instructions, the debt can be paid to the rishis, the sages. Third is called Pitrurina. Pitrurina is a debt to your ancestors, Pitrus. Okay, scripture advocates procreation, okay, as well as performing rituals in remembrance of the ancestors. Okay, and then if you look into another literature that is called Shatpata Brahman, okay, adds 2 more debts. And according to the scriptures, it also says Manusha Rena, which can be repaid by treating other people with respect and helping people in need. Manusha Rena, helping other living beings, other people. Then number 5, you have Bhuta Rena. Person is indebted to the environment, other living beings. The plants gives you food. Animals, agriculture, nature. Also treat animals respectfully. Feed the animals. Even an ant also you can feed an ant. That is also a good way of fulfilling Bhuta Rina. So you have 5 Rina. Sometimes when I say feeding ants, people will be, why should I feed an ant and all? It is a good practice. That is also a good, what we call, karmic practice that you do. Feed all the living beings. Okay, if you are able to do, feed everything. Water the plant. Okay, feed the animals. Take care of the nature. These are all part of Bhuta Rina. So Dasaratha mentions 3 Rinas earlier. Okay, and then Rama left the palace. Okay, then he sought presence of his mother, that is Kausalya. Kausalya blessed Rama. He said, Rama, my son, may you live long life, free from enemies. Remember, when we say enemies here, we can refer to two types of enemy, external and internal. External is not much of a problem. Internal enemy is a more of a problem. Internal enemy, remember, I have gone through with you earlier in the story of Vishwamitra. Internal enemy means Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Mada, Matsarya, all these need to be conquered. Okay? Rama looked at Lakshmana and said, I live for you, brother. I accept even this crown for your sake. Because Rama and Lakshmana, they are inseparable. Okay? So the king did not rest. He sent for Vashishta and conveyed his decision. Vashishta went to Rama's palace, but the going was not easy because the word already spread throughout Ayodhya. Throughout Ayodhya, people came to know Rama will be the next king. So what happened? Okay, somehow Vashishta reached the palace of Rama and instructed him to fast, take fast. Okay, which is also a type of tapasya. Then he returned to the king, informed him that what are the things that need to be done. Now, this chapter, if you're looking into chapter 6, okay, will be all about description about Sita and Rama fasting the nights, gets up in the morning, and gets his house decorated, and the people of Ayodhya. A lot of description in this chapter about how people of Ayodhya celebrated. How people celebrate when there is a joyful situation, joyful event. Everybody was singing and dancing. The entire Ayodhya was celebrating. Okay, the entire people was celebrating. Everyone feels happy that Rama would be their future protector. Everyone was happy, very, very happy and joyful to hear. This is what is described in this chapter, chapter 6. Now we could look into chapter 7. In chapter 7, now the narration comes. Kaikeyi was not informed. Kaikeyi did not came to hear about it. Although, in fact, even Kausalya was not informed. Sumitra was not informed, but Kausalya came to know from other sources. But in that source did not came to Kaikeyi. Kaikeyi had not been informed. Now, Kaikeyi had a maidservant from Kekeya who was sent together with Kaikeyi to Ayodhya. Just like in Mahabharata, to accompany Gandhari, okay, the princess of Saubala, king of Saubala in the Gandhara kingdom in Mahabharata, her brother called Sakuni was sent together with what they call Gandhari to Hastinapura. What happened was that the maidservant of Kaikeyi called Mantara, okay, a hunchback, in Ramayana called the Kuni or hunchback, okay, was also sent together with Kaikeyi. Mantara was the maidservant who took care of Kaikeyi since Kaikeyi was born. The Kaikeyi's mother, that's the queen of Kekeya, wife of King Ashwapati, was a very busy woman. She did not have time to take care of children. So for Kaikeyi, Mantara was entrusted to take care of Kaikeyi since she was born. So it was Mantara who was an advisor, who used to be what they call all the happiness and the sorrow of the Kaikeyi was taken care of Mantara. So Mantara do not know what is happening in Ayodhya at that time, because the entire Ayodhya was celebrating. The whole Ayodhya was celebrating. The whole Ayodhya people were happy, joyful. Everywhere there was celebration. And Mantara also noted that Kausalya's maidservant were expensively dressed. Maidservant of Kausalya was expensively dressed and was very joyful. On inquiry, she discovered the cause of all this. She asked people around, okay, and she came to know that the king Dasaratha had made the decision to enthrone Rama as a heir apparent. So what happened? Quickly Mantara rushed to Kaikeli, who at that time retired to bed, and violently shook her, saying in great agitation, it says, Valmiki Ramayana, Uttishto Mutho, get up, oh you fool. See, a maidservant can call a queen, oh fool, Uttishto Mudo. If that is the case, only someone who was close to the queen can call like that. Just because Mantara was with Kaikeyi since she was born. Uttishto Mudo, get up, oh fool, how can you rest? A great calamity awaits you. The person you love the most, Rama, because Kaikeyi loved Rama. In fact, Kaikeyi later will say, she was very joyful and happy to hear the coronation of Rama. Before Mantara will start to poison her mind. Okay, so she said to Kaikeyi, okay, the person that you love, the person who pretends to love you dearly is about to betray you, plunge you into a misery. Calmly, Kaikeyi asked, are you sick, O Mantara? What is happening to you, O Mantara? Why are you saying this? Getting more agitated, Mantara say, your destruction, your ruin is in your hand. The king is going to crown Rama tomorrow. This is what was mentioned by, what he called, Mantara. Mantara went on, you are the daughter of a king, great king, Ashwapati, king of Kekeya. You are the beloved consort of the king. See, beloved consort of the king, she is a favorite queen of Dasaratha. In fact, later on we will learn from Kausalya mount it came. Kausalya will say she was not treated well by the king because of fear of Kaikeyi. Kaikeyi was treated very well by the king. Sumitra was a bit different. Sumitra, not a principal queen, she very philosophical and emotionally she was very intelligent. Okay, compared to Kausalya. Kausalya always feels that when Rama was born, she was very happy, and of course later on we will learn about Kausalya, and we will also learn about Sumitra later sessions. And maybe in session 7 we are going to learn about Sumitra. So you are the beloved of the great consort of the great king, yet you do not realize what is happening. I am your maidservant who is devoted to your welfare. I can clearly see your downfall, and Kausalya will become all powerful. And your good fortune, therefore mine too, will come to an end. See, she is worried that the Kausalya will become what he call all powerful when Rama becomes a king. You and your son have been deceived by the king. Awake, O Kaikeyi, Uttishto, awake, Kaikeyi. Act quickly to save yourself. Please with the good news and not responding to Mantara's panic. Kaikeyi, when she heard Rama is going to be crowned, enthroned, she was very happy because it is said in Ramayana itself, Kaikeyi was the one spending more time with Rama than even Bharata. In fact, Rama spent most of the time in the palace of Kaikeyi compared to Bharata. Kaikeyi loved Rama more than Bharata. So Kaikeyi was very happy, and Kaikeyi gave rich and valuable presents to Mantara, saying, oh Mantara, I don't see any difference between Rama and Bharata. Therefore, I am delighted to hear that the king is going to crown Rama, O Mantara. Now, after hearing from Kaikeyi, Mantara threw away all the gifts given by Kaikeyi. And she continued, oh you foolish woman, what had come to you, O Kaikeyi? How foolish you rejoice at the success of your enemy. Lucky for Kausalya. Soon, what is going to happen is that she will have you as a chief maidservant. And your beloved son, Bharata, who could be the king, might even be banished from the kingdom, may even be banished from Ayodhya. and disgusted with the way Manthara went on. Actually, Manthara will be going on and on and on. Okay. Kaikeyi said firmly, "What has come to you, O Manthara? Rama is dear to me as Bharata. Rama, who treats me with greater devotion than he serves even his own mother Kaushalya. If Rama is crowned the king, it is good as his Bharata is crowned the king. For Rama treats Bharata as his own self." This was again said by Kaikeyi, but Manthara could not be silenced. She went on and on. In this particular chapter 8, you will learn a lot of strategies that was used by Manthara to poison the mind of Kaikeyi. Manthara persistent pace on. She went on and on. Her evil counsel worked. Actually, if you want to look into this chapter, see, Manthara's art of persuasion. You want to persuade people. There are various steps people learn. In fact, if you go and do a search, there are many books written on persuasion psychology. Okay, for example, Joshua Strachan wrote The Art of Power and Mind Control. How to Influence People, Persuasion Psychology. Another book by Henry Rogers, Power of Persuasion, Understand the Psychology of Persuasion, Influence Human Behavior and Get Others to Do What You Want. John Austin, Persuasion Skill, How to Learn All Techniques of Art of Persuasion to Improve Your Skills, Understand Psychology and Improve People. These are all books. Now, even if you don't read all these books, I suggest read chapter 8 of Ayodhya Kanda. Look at the strategy employed by Manthara to influence Kaikeyi. Manthara actually poisoned the mind of Kaikeyi. You remember, Kaikeyi in the beginning was very happy to hear Rama will be the next king. Dasaratha had made a decision to enthrone Rama. She was very happy. But look at how the strategy employed by Manthara to poison the mind of Kaikeyi. Kaikeyi actually lost. He was won over by Manthara with her persuasion. So if you look into Sarga 8, you have about Sarga 8 of the Valmiki Ramayana, you have about 30 over chapters, close about 30 chapters here. 30 chapters. You can look into about 25 over chapters, slokas in what we call Sarga 8, chapter 8. Read what are the steps, step by step, strategy used by what we call Manthara to influence the mind of Kaikeyi in order to win over Kaikeyi, in order to make sure Kaikeyi will follow her way. Okay, so this is another thing about this chapter 8. If you look into a book that is called Nidhi Shataka, okay, that is actually by Bhartahari, Nidhi and Vairaka Shatakas. Nidhi Shataka actually talks about effects of bad company. Okay, if you have bad company, the influence will be greater psychologically. So it says that in the Nidhi Sataka, a drop of water on an iron plate immediately loses existence. The same drop takes a shape of pearl when dropped on a lotus leaf. But even in the middle of the ocean, a drop of water that enters the oyster achieves its destiny of turning into a real pearl. So what it says is that in time, the person becomes a rich one, an average one, or an extraordinary one, depends on the company he keeps. Just like how poison spreads through the entire body with the help of blood, one bad quality, weaknesses will spread through the entire mind by using an opportunity or moment of weaknesses. See how Kaikeyi, due to her company of Manthara, who is always negative, who always see things in a negative way. So if you want to do further search about yourself, the people around you, as far as possible, if you have people who are always negative, who always complains, try to what you call reduce the interaction. Slowly you reduce the interaction. More you interact with people who are negative, who always complain, who always takes you into negative thoughts, that will not be good. See what happened to Kaikeyi here due to the influence of Mantara. Okay. In chapter 9, after Mantara won over Kaikeyi, managed to influence Kaikeyi, now Kaikeyi now became very angry. Oh Mantara, now I see what you have said. I see there is some truth in what you are saying, oh Mantara. She said, kindly help me, devise a plan. What can I do? Mantara said, of course I have a plan. So when you go and complain something, make sure you have a plan. Mantara already have a plan. See, I have a plan. Mantara will narrate. Okay, during the war between Indra and Sambarasura with the demons, Dasara lay wounded and you saved his life. Kaikeyi became a charioteer of Dasara at that time. Another version of Ramayana is Kaikeyi actually helped Dasarada, and when the wheels of the chariot was broken, Kaikeyi put her hand in order to help Dasarada for the chariot to continue to run. But that is not mentioned in Valmiki Ramayana. But you have in other versions of Ramayana did mention about that. But in Valmiki Ramayana mentioned that Kaikeyi drove Dasarada away and saved her life, because Kaikeyi was a charioteer of Dasarada during the war that the Dasarada helped Indra during the war with Sambarasura. Okay, that is mentioned in Valmiki Ramayana. But the part where it talks about Kaikeyi puts the help with the wheel, it is not. It is from other versions. Okay, Dasarada was wounded and Kaikeyi saved his life. And then what happened was that the king at that time again gave her a boon. Without thinking, he made a promise. He gave a boon, 2 boons. But at that time, Kaikeyi did not took the boon. First, the king, okay, he did not choose any boon. I will take it at the time when it comes. So here, Mantara is reminding Kaikeyi of the boon that Dasarada gave it to him, gave it to her. Okay. Mantara said, first make the king promise that he will now give the boon of your choice. It should be first Bharata to be installed on a throne. Second, Rama to be banished for 14 years. The king loves you and will not refuse the boon. He might offer gold, jewels instead. Refuse all of that. Let not deflect. Be content with Bharata's coronation. Insist that Rama to be banished. Now, Mantara's persuasiveness made evil appear good. Asatya can become a satya. Evil can become a good, sometimes due to people's persuasion. That's why remember, okay, Lini Sataka's lesson earlier I mentioned to you. She even glorified Mantara. Oh, great Mantara, you are the most wise person. She will glorify Mantara. Mantara will remind her, no one will build a dam after the water has flowed away. Do it now. Enter the chamber of displeasure. Those days they used to have many chambers. One of the chambers mentioned is chamber of anger, chamber of displeasure. Enter into a chamber of displeasure. Kaikeyi threw herself on the floor and said to Mantara, Rama shall go to the forest. Bharata shall be made a king. You will inform the king, I am dead. If the Bharata did not become a king, Rama did not go to the forest. Okay, inform the king, I am dead. Finally, one more. Mantara reminded Kaikeyi of the danger and counseled her to be steadfast in a decision, not to move from a decision. Now in the chapter 10, when all the arrangement has been made, king wanted to convey the news to Kaikeyi. So he went to the palace of Kaikeyi. He did not find her in the palace. It was told that she is now in a chamber of anger. The maidservant informed the king. In a great anger, the king is lying in a chamber of displeasure. Greatly distressed by this information, king rushed to the chamber and saw Kaikeyi lying on the floor with all the jewelry flung around her person. Okay, sitting by her side, taking her hand, king addressed her, "My beloved, are you not well? Tell me, have I served you the best and able? I shall serve you with the best and most able doctors. Has someone insulted you? Or tell me, someone has killed who should not deserve to be killed? Or someone who has killed who has not deserved to be killed? Or you wish someone condemned be freed? Do you wish that I should enrich a pauper or deprive a wealth of her wealth?" Okay, you see here, Dasaratha from the words, he is promising, he is giving word without thinking. Just like what Honorable Srinivasa Sastry mentioned, that Dasaratha is a person who will promise without thinking the consequences of his promise. Please get up and tell me what the matter is. Now, Kaikeyi said, first promise. Okay, what is the promise? Promise that you will do what I will ask you to do. Then I shall let you know what I want. In the name of Rama, the king said, whom I love the most, I promise to do whatever you wish. Taking the advantage of this, Kaikeyi said, "Oh, you are a righteous monarch. Let the gods bear the witness." He proceeded. You remember on the battlefield on Sambasura, when you battled Sambasura, I saved your life and you offered 2 boons. I said that I would ask for that later. I want them now. The king patiently waited for her to name the boons. Kaikeyi continues. You made elaborate preparation to install Bharata on the throne. You made preparations to install Rama on the throne. Using the same preparation, installed my son Bharata to the throne. This is my first boon, O king. My second boon is that let Rama immediately proceed to Dantaka forest. Live there as a hermit for 14 years, wearing bark of trees and skins, deer skin. Let Rama become a hermit. Let Bharata enjoy the sovereignty of the kingdom. You are devoted to truth and wise. Therefore, adhere to your promise. This was a demand, request of Kaikeyi. Hit by the words of Kaikeyi, the king Dasaratha stunned and fainted. He fainted, and then regaining consciousness, he said to Kaikeyi, "Oh wicked woman, what has Rama done to you that you are so cruel to him? He is more devoted to you than his own mother, and you yourself used to praise him to me. The whole world sings his glory. For what fault shall I exalt him? I shall abandon Kausalya, Sumitra, my wealth, even my life, but I shall not abandon Rama. If you wish you want to crown Bharata, go ahead." But Kaikeyi was unyielding. She said, "If you wish to go back on your word, I wish you disgrace the fame of your dynasty. Forsaking Dharma, that you want to enjoy life with Kausalya and Rama. Shame on you if my boons are not granted. I shall take poison and die." Dasaratha began to wail, but Kaikeyi did not even seem to listen. Dasaratha thought of Rama and he fell down. Dasaratha pleaded again, "If I agree to your demand, people will say, what people will say of me, for sake of women. King banished the noble and righteous Rama. How could such a fool rule Ayodhya for so long? For your sake, I ignored all the loving service Kausalya had rendered to me. I did not realize that I was harboring in you a venomous cobra in shape of a wife." This was what said by Dasaratha. And Dasaratha said, if I send Rama away, Lakshmana will also go with him. Unable to bear his separation, I will die. You will rule as a widow. How cruelly you will govern my beloved people. If I tell Rama to go to forest, he will instantly obey me. He is Dharma incarnate. How can you even conceive this tender, glorious prince going to the forest, living on roots and fruits, bearing crops, roaming on the forest on food? If Bharata is pleased with his proposal to banish Rama, he should not even perform my funeral rites. Oh, cruel woman, I do not care if you faint, burn yourself, die, or enter the bowels of earth. I will not ask. I will not ask. I will not do as you ask me to do. I bow down to you, even touch your feet. Please, please save me. Dasaratha fell down, stretched his hands to reach, could not reach Kaikeyi's feet. Dasaratha, whatever cries from Dasaratha, Kaikeyi was unmoved. Kaikeyi said to Dasaratha, I am claiming the boon which you offered to me. You promised. Oh, Dasaratha. Dasaratha again pleaded with Kaikeyi, but Kaikeyi was unmoved. Time moved on. It was close to dawn. King was awake, distressed and restless. Seeing this, Kaikeyi declared, why are you lying down like this? The knowers of Dharma declared that truth alone is the highest Dharma. Satya is the highest Dharma. Okay? Standing firmly on truth, I prompt you to do what is right. King Sibi and King Alarka. Later on, I will tell you who are King Sibi and King Alarka. Attain supreme truth by sacrificing their body. Stick to Dharma, stick to truth. Send your son to the forest. If you don't, I shall die here in front of you. Dasaratha saw he was born by his words. He cried. He said, I disown you and your son should not do my funeral rites. By Kaikeyi urged, time is passing, call Rama. When you send him to the forest and install Bharata on the throne, you have discharged your duty. Dasaratha agreed. I am born by force of Dharma. I have lost my science. I see Rama. I wish to see Rama. Sumantara approached the room at that time. King told Sumantara to go and call Rama. Okay, then what happened? Now, if I'm going to give you something on the King Sibi, if you look into chapter 13, mention about King Sibi and Alarka by Kaikeyi. In Mahabharata mentions about King Sibi. Puranas also mentions about King Sibi. We don't have detail in Ramayana. King Sibi, once upon a time, there was a story about King Sibi. Indra and Agni wanted to test him. Okay. Indra took the form of a hawk, Agni took the form of a pigeon. The hawk was chasing the pigeon. Pigeon flew to King Saiba or King Sibi. It was known as King Sibi, also known as Saiba. Okay, remember there is also Saiba in the Mahabharata, not Saiba, which is King Sibi. That is mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita. There is a sloka, Saibya Shya Mananasum Pungawa. There is one Saibya also there. So here, King Sibi gave his own flesh equivalent to the weight of a pigeon to save it from being the meal of a hawk. King Alarka is a king who gave his own eyes, donated to the eyes of Brahmana. So these are the two kings who stick to Dharma that Kaikeyi reminded Dasaratha. Now, after that, if you are looking into chapter 15 and 16, everything was ready for coronation, but the king did not emerge. Sumantara beheld divine Rama and said, Rama, the king who is with the queen Kaikeyi wants to see you. Rama emerged from his palace and he went to, he praised what you call Kausalya, his mother, okay. He went to what you call Dasaratha. Okay, people were praising Rama, praising Kausalya, praising Sita. So they were saying, obviously Sita would have done a great penance to get Rama as a husband. People rejoiced themselves. Okay, they said to one another, Rama's coronation is truly a blessing to everybody. When he rules, he will rule for a long time. No one will ever have an unpleasant experience or even suffer. Rama too was happy to see huge crowd. The Rama Raja. Okay. Rama Raja will happen later. After Dasaratha Raja will be Paduka Raja. Rama will later go and he will bow to the father and devotedly touch the feet of his mother Kaikeyi. Rama said the king. King could not say anything more. The word that Rama should go to the person did not even come from the king. Because the king was choked with tears and grief, he cannot say any words. Rama sensed a great danger. Turning to Kaikeyi, Rama asked, how is it today the king is not speaking to me? Have I offended him anyway? Anyway, have I offended the king? Is he not well? Kindly reveal the truth to me. Kaikeyi said to Rama, the king is neither sick or angry with you, O Rama. He granted me 2 boons. When I named the boon, he lost his consciousness. He fainted. How can a truthful man, a righteous man, righteous king, go back on his word? I shall reveal the truth to you if you assure me that you will honor your father's promise. Actually, it's coming from Kaikeyi. For the first time, Rama was distressed. Please do not say such a thing to me, O mother. For the sake of father, I can jump into the fire. I assure you, Rama does not indulge in double talk. Hence, tell me what the king wants to be done. And Kaikeyi lost no time. She said, I wish both you and your father devoted to Dharma. Let Bharata be crowned and go away to forest for 14 years. Do this for best of men. For this is the word of your father, and thus you could redeem the king. Okay, this is from what Kaikeyi said. Now, if you look into in chapter 19, okay, Rama was not even perturbed with what was mentioned by Kaikeyi without any displeasure. Okay, Kamba Ramayana, Kamba said also something like he was in a situations where just like the lotus that has blown doesn't see anything that has made it. It's just like before he entered the palace and after he came from the palace, he was emotionally intelligent. He didn't show any displeasure at all. Without any displeasure, Rama said, so be it. I shall immediately go to the forest. Why does the king does not speak to me, nor feel happy in my presence? I shall go. I shall myself gladly give Bharata the kingdom. It's easier when all this is done in obedience to my father's command. But it breaks my heart to see father does not say anything directly to me. Kaikeyi said sternly, I think you should not delay your departure from Ayodhya even for a moment. Till you leave the city, he will not bathe or eat. Hearing this, the king became unconscious again. He fell down. Rama decided to leave at once. He said to Kaikeyi, I am not fond of wealth or pleasure. Even as the sages are, I am devoted to Dharma, devoted to Satya. Satyavakyo Rudavradaha. Remember the word mentioned here, okay? Satyavakyo Rudavradaha. Even if father does not command me, even if you ask me to go to the forest, I would have done that. I shall presently let my mother also Sita know of the position, and immediately I will leave to forest. Rama was not affected by all the sudden turn of events. He emerged from the palace with Lakshmana. People tried to hold a royal umbrella over him, but he brushed them aside. Talking pleasantly and sweetly with people, he went to his mother's apartment. See, what we can learn here from Rama, one of the things we can learn is to be emotionally intelligent. There is a book written by Daniel Goleman, Working with Emotional Intelligence. Emotional intelligence is one of the skills that people have to learn. Emotional intelligence, there are more, if I want to talk to you about emotional intelligence, but I don't want to go into the emotional intelligence too long, emotional intelligence, but something that for you to reflect. We won't have a time for today to go and do what we call breakout session. I wanted to do a breakout session, but I looked at the time. It is again coming to almost close to 1 hour. So we have about 10 minutes that is remaining to complete our session for today. But just try to recall, look at any one of us, try to recall any one of us when we hear things that are joyful or things that are not joyful to us. Bhagavad Gita mentions many things about emotional intelligence, being equanimity, somebody you need to be in equanimity. In the previous session also I mentioned some of these slokas. Matra sparsastu kaunteya sitoshna shukka dukkada agama phayino nitya stam titikshafa bharata. Be tolerant. One have to be able to tolerate the heat and cold. It's just like the happiness and distress. So in these concepts, you look into Rama. See, Rama preached in Dwapara Yuga as Krishna. Krishna in previous Yuga, he was Rama. He demonstrated in Treta Yuga as Rama, and then in Dwapara Yuga, he preached to Arjuna and all of us what he has demonstrated earlier. So before you preach, you must be able to practice. So practice what you preach what you have practiced. So Krishna has practiced previously emotional intelligence. That's why he was telling Arjuna, Sukha dukkhe samakrutva labha labho jaya jaya. Sukha, happiness, dukkhe, sadness, samakrutva, labha, gain, halava, loss, jaya, victory, ajaya, defeat, labha, labho, jaya, jaya. All that, be in equilibrium, be in equanimity. So Rama clearly demonstrated equanimity, emotional intelligence. So you can just reflect for a moment. Maybe after this session, reflect how Rama, look at Rama, one side, one just within few hours, within I can say within a time of within 10 hours, he heard the news that he's going to be the next king. And then after that, after about 10 to 12 hours, maybe around that, he came to know that he's not going to be the king. And worse than that, he was sent to the forest, to live in a forest. Look at how emotionally he was stable. Valmiki Ramayana narrates that. If you look into from Valmiki Ramayana, not only Valmiki Ramayana, I am familiar that if you are looking from Ramayana also mentions that particular thing before he went in, after he came in, it's just like the lotus, the same lotus that has bloomed. That was how Rama was. Any Ramayana will mention to you the emotional quotient, emotional intelligence displayed by Rama here. Okay, maybe when we have times, maybe some other sessions, because Ayodhya Kanda is very long session, 119 chapters. I think I'm going to do it, if I'm not mistaken, about 6 sessions. 6 or 7, 6 sessions we're going to do Ayodhya Kanda. So in Ayodhya Kanda, we might not have much time to do the breakout session, the discussion. If I can slot in somewhere, I will try. Otherwise, when we go to Aranya, we can do more. There will be more time for discussion. Okay? Now, remember, be emotionally intelligent. Emotional intelligence requires us to control our mind and emotion. Always remember, life is like a roller coaster. Roller coaster, there will be up, there will be down. Remember, when you are up, there will come a time there will be down. Whenever you are down, there will be time that you will go up. It's a cycle that you go through. Okay, but whatever that you go through, all that we go through is based on our past activity, and what we are going to do today will depend what we are going to be tomorrow. Lord Buddha himself mentioned this. Where you are now, what you are now is based on where or what you have been in the past, and where you are going to go tomorrow or what you are going to be in tomorrow is going to be based on what you are going to do today. Going to do means not only the action, your word, your thoughts. So that's why it is mentioned before you demonstrate something, in terms of action, your word must comply. Words must align with your action, and the word must align with your thoughts. That's why I always remember the people used to say, when you are alone, watch your thoughts. When you are with the people around you, watch your words. When you are in public, watch your behavior. When you are alone, always watch your thoughts, because always a negative thought might come to you. Remember, according to Barbara Fredrickson, one of the psychologists mentions that more positive thought comes, negative thoughts will be able to be controlled by your positive thought. Even though the negative thought comes, increase with more positive thoughts. So when you start to read the scriptures, more positivity will come to you. Okay, the Rig Veda mentions that let the noble thought come from all the directions to you. So always watch your thoughts. Okay, when you remember that Rama in his life has undergone a lot of trials and tribulation, but he was able to manage his life well, because he was able to control everything well. There were times in Aranyakanda, Rama will also be crying, thinking of Sita. He will also be doing it in Kishkindakanda. At that time, even Sugriva will be there to advise Rama. Rama, please do not grieve. Grief will take away your energy. Look at Sugriva. Sugriva was a person who was scared of his brother Vali. And after meeting Rama, after Vali was killed, he became the king. He was even advising Rama. So Rama will be demonstrating emotions, a lot of emotions in Aranyakanda part. Kishkindakanda, no, not much, sorry. Ayodhyakanda is not much in Ayodhyakanda. Later on in Aranyakanda, when he loses Sita. But he was, although he displayed the emotion, but he was emotionally intelligent. So remember, one of the skills that you need to learn from Rama is to manage your emotion, manage your mind, and be emotionally intelligent. The last chapter for today's session is chapter 20. So Rama, after he came to know, after he was told that he has to go to forest and Bharata will be the king, he went to see his mother. When Kausalya saw Rama, she began to glorify him and bless him and asked him to sit on a royal seat. Rama did not, and calmly said to her, "Mother, the king has decided to crown Bharata as Vishwaraja, and I am to go to the forest and live there as a hermit for 14 years." So that was what Rama said to Kausalya, his mother. When she heard that, Kausalya fell unconscious and grief-stricken. After she regained her consciousness, she said, "If I had been barren, I would have been unhappy. But I would not have to endure this terrible agony, O Rama. I had not known a happy day throughout my life." You know why she said that? Because Dasarada was mostly spent his time with Kaikeyi, not with the Kausalya, Sumitra, also other queens. He has 3 principal queens, but there are other queens as well. Okay? I had to endure all the insults of other wives of the king. He did not treat me with kindness and consideration. I was always treated with less respect and affection than Kaikeyi's servant were treated. I thought after your birth, after your coronation, my luck would change. All my hopes have shattered. Even death seems to spurn me. Surely my heart is hard as it does not break into pieces at this moment of greatest misfortune and sorrow in my life. life is not worth living. This is all the complaints, all the what you call frustration will be vented out by Kausalya here. One of the things Kausalya said just like that, Kaikeyi was the favorite queen of Dasaratha. So because Kaikeyi was a favorite queen of Dasaratha, Dasaratha did not treat Kausalya well, even the other queens as well as she treated Kaikeyi. Chapter 21 onwards, still with Kausalya, Rama will give advice to Kausalya, his own mother. Kausalya will even be telling Rama that, please take me with you. Rama will say that will be extreme cruelty to father. As long as father lives, please serve father. Rama will be telling about street dharma to Kausalya. To his own mother, he will be giving discourse. That completes chapter 20. So in our session today, I think almost exactly I'm completing today. If we did the breakup session, maybe we would have taken additional 10 hours. But some session, let me see some of the session. If I'm going to squeeze it, if I'm able to do, I will try. But otherwise, we will do it when we go to Aranya Kanda, because Ayutthaya Kanda is very long. Lot of drama, lot of emotions. Emotions actually going to continue. After Rama meeting Kausalya, he's going to go and meet Sita. Sita will also argue why she should follow Rama. And then finally Rama will agree to Sita following what do you call Rama. And then Lakshmana also wanted to follow. So there will be a lot of dramas and incidents or emotions that is going to take place in next session. Next session will be session 7, which we will be doing next week. So now we have completed session 6. So anybody have any questions? You can. I didn't get any questions. Maybe Mrs. Shivji will send me the question of the previous session, also the questions from this session. Will email to me, then I will answer all the questions together in our next sessions. But again, next session is again going to be a longer session. 20 chapters is going to be covered, but I will try as far as possible. Some of the chapters I will combine, I will try to minimize. So we have completed now session 6. Session 6, what do we have covered? We have covered chapter 1 to chapter 20 of Ayutthaya Kanda. So we started chapter 1 with all the attributes of Lord Rama, qualification of Lord Rama. All the qualities of Lord Rama was mentioned not only in Balakandam, chapter 1, but we also learned in chapter 1 of Ayutthaya Kanda as well. And then chapter 2, further information about qualities of Lord Rama we find mentioned by not only the preceptors and also the ministers and also all the people, all glorify Lord Rama there. And then Dasaratha will prepare for coronation of Rama. And then what will happen is that all the people of Ayutthaya will be very joyful, very happy. They will be celebrating everywhere. And then that celebration was seen by Mantara, the maidservant of Queen Kaikeyi. And then when Mantara came to know that Rama is going to be the next king, immediately she went to Kaikeyi and then she told Kaikeyi, Uttishto Mudho, get up, O fool. Why are you still sleeping? Get up. And then she started to poison the mind of Kaikeyi. Persuasion, art of persuasion. Okay, in chapter 8 of Ayutthaya Kanda, you learn about all about the persuasion strategy that was used by what you call Mantara to influence Kaikeyi, and then Kaikeyi was won over by Mantara, and then Kaikeyi will be later demand Dasaratha the 2 goods that Dasaratha gave to her long ago during Sambasura's war. And then one of the boon, Bharata to be the next king. Next boon, Rama to go into the forest. And then that part, and then Rama, remember, emotionally he was intelligent. Emotionally he was able to cope, right? Then he will go and tell his mother, and then later in other chapters, Sita and Lakshmana and all that. So we have completed session 6, Ayutthaya Kandam, chapter 1 to 20. Sri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasra Rama Tatulyam Ramanama Varanane. So over to Mr. Shiv Prakash and Professor Gupta. So Ayutthaya Kanda, chapter 1 to 20 completed. Session 6 we have completed.